In this video, we're going to show you how to install pads and rotors on your Hummer H3 located behind your rear wheels. With the vehicle raised and supported, I'm going to go ahead and rotate the wheel. I want to remove our center cap. So I'm going to use a screwdriver. You can use a trim tool, and you're going to go right behind here and just gently pry out, removing the center cap. Next, using a 19mm socket, I want to go ahead and loosen and remove your lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. With the rear wheel removed, we want to go ahead and remove our brake caliper here. I'm going to use a 14mm socket on our impact gun. You can use a regular ratchet or wrench if you want. On the bottom one, we can't fit our impact gun, so we're simply going to use our ratchet. Now we did spray this down with some rust penetrant. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and remove our caliper. I'm going to swing that off. Now you want to be careful with this here. You don't want to let this hang on our flex hose. So what we're going to do is simply pivot this up and set it on top of the bump stop pad on our axle. Over here, I'm going to go ahead and remove our brake pads. If you have to, you can go ahead and use your screwdriver to go ahead and pry these out. Go ahead and set those aside. We now want to remove our caliper bracket from the axle itself. There's two 15mm bolts. You can use a breaker bar. Sometimes you can use your ratchet. Gonna go ahead and break these loose. Now there's no real specific order in removing these bolts. However, if you remove the bottom one first, you can go ahead and release it without it falling. And you come back and grab that top one. If you undo the top one, you can risk this swinging around. Not a big issue. Go ahead and remove that bolt. Grab that bracket and set that aside. Now I want to go ahead and remove our brake rotor. Now there are parking brake shoes underneath the rotor hat itself. So we're going to go ahead and just tap that. And we want to go ahead and tap it and rotate if you can. Sometimes you can grab that rotor and wiggle it off. Our parking brake shoes are adjusted properly where they just barely catch. Now if your rotor is stuck, we want to go ahead and show you how to remove the rotor without causing any further damage. Now if you notice on the front side of your rotor, you have two threaded holes here. You're going to grab the appropriate size bolt size. I'm going to go ahead and get these started. And you're going to use these bolts as pushers. You can use your ratchet on this here if you want. But I'm going to gently tighten these both down. And look what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and use a rubber mallet on the rotor. There we go. Go ahead and remove that. Don't forget to remove your trusty bolts here. Let's go ahead and prep our caliper bracket here. I'm going to start by popping off these slides right here. Most of the time you can slide them off by hand. If not, just use a little screwdriver and pop those off. We're going to be replacing these. Set those aside. Next thing you want to pay attention to are these slider pins. The first thing is grab the slider pins and see if you can rotate them. If not, you're going to want to go ahead and put this into a vise, put the bracket in, and grab your wrench, and you need to break this free. Okay? Once you get it broken free a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and twist it and start to pull it out. And you can see there's a rubber boot. You need to separate the rubber boot from the slide pin. So just pinch that boot and pull the pin. And then continue to work this out. Now this here has a rubber sleeve on it, so you want to pay attention to that. If that rubber bushing or sleeve is torn or worn or is missing, you need to go ahead and replace these pins. Grab this one here, going to do the same. Sometimes you can use your pocket screwdriver to get underneath that rubber boot and just gently start to work that off. Now you want to be careful with these here. Just slide that off. Now if you notice that this pin here does not have a rubber sleeve on it, so I'm going to go ahead and mark my caliper bracket so I know which side that pin goes in. I'm just going to use a yellow crayon. I'm going to go ahead and use a yellow crayon to go ahead and mark the bracket. It could be anywhere. You just want to make sure that when you clean this with a spray solvent that you don't lose those markings. You want to grab that rubber boot and gently try and work this out. Pull that out. Now this is a critical step right here. You want to do this to both of these rubber boots. You need to go ahead and pinch these and roll them. And you're going to look for splits, tears, anything like that that's going to allow water to get inside your slider pins. If that happens, that's going to cause rust and corrosion, cause this to stick. Your brakes are not going to work properly. Now both boots are identical. If you find any damage to these boots, replace them. Our boots are in good shape. Set those aside. Let's go ahead and focus on the caliper bracket itself. I want to go ahead and spray some solvent into these ports. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses because this will shoot back at you if you're at the wrong angle or you have too much pressure. I do one at a time here. I'm going to use a bristle brush on my drill. It's a bore brush. And what I'm doing is I'm cleaning out any of the old grease, any rust, anything like that. And then we want to flush it out. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Now you can repeat this process as many times as it takes to go ahead and make sure you get a clean port inside there. I'm going to set that to the side, let that drain out and dry. Let's focus on our slider pins next. I'm going to go ahead and grab some sharp rags or a towel, spray this, and wipe it down. You want to get any grease off of this. And you want to do an inspection of the entire pin itself. If there's any rust or swelling of the steel itself, replace these. This pin here is perfect. Let's go ahead and do the same here. Our bushing is perfect. We have a little bit of discoloration here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through my wire wheel machine just to clean that up and polish out a little bit. And otherwise that pin should be perfect. Now we have our pin all cleaned up here. Set that aside. All right, let's come back to this here. Next step, grab a bristle brush and let's clean where these sliders go here. Now what we're paying attention to here is right inside these grooves here and around this raised section here. We want to make sure that we install our sliders that there isn't causing any swelling or deformation of the sliders. That's going to cause your brake pads to bind up. So use your bristle brush. If you have excessive rust, go ahead and use a flat file to go ahead and shave that down and reform that block. Go ahead and flip it over, do the same on the other side. Use some spray solvent, clean that up. All right, our bracket is ready to reassemble. So then take your boots, just give them a quick wipe. I want to go ahead and slide these back in. So there's two different sides here. One has a flared side, the other one is totally smooth. That's the side that fits on the bolt side. So we're going to take the flared side and fit that inside, and you got to tuck that in. Do the same on this here. Perfect. Next step, silicone paste. I'm going to put a little bit inside the boot, a little bit, and that is key here. Now here, thin coat of silicone paste. You're literally putting some on and then wiping it off with your finger. That's how thin you want it. Now you're going to go ahead and slide this in and work that in. Now what we're trying to pay attention to here is if you have too much paste on this and you push this in, that pin will push its way back out just from the compression in there. So you're going to push that in and you see it's good, it's moving smooth. Push it onto the rubber boot. I'll make sure that that rubber boot seals all the way around. That is perfect. Let's go ahead and do the same for this side here. Perfect. Now here, we're going to put some grease on there, or silicone paste is what you want, and thin coat. You don't want globs on there. Thin coat. Go ahead and grab your slider. On this particular model, you want to make sure that the little spring tab faces outward. Line that up and push that down. Look down the sides here and make sure that the the slider is fully seated. Do not put grease on these. If you put grease on here, road debris and sand sticks to it, causes your brake pads to stick and end up with a brake problem once again. All right, our caliper bracket has been rebuilt. We're gonna set that aside. Now when you get your brake rotors, take them out of the bag, and chances are there's probably gonna be a thin coating of oil on these here. Go ahead and use your TRQ brake cleaner and go ahead and spray these down. You wanna get that oil off and then wipe them down. You wanna do both sides. Make sure you get the inside as well. Let's go ahead and use our bristle brush, and we want to make sure we clean this hub face. We want to make sure if you have any rust around those edges here, that is all cleaned before that rotor goes on. Now, if the rotor doesn't sit flush, it's going to cause a wobbling or pulsating when you're stepping on the brakes. Clean that up. We're going to use some anti-seize compound on the hub face. I'm going to protect my components in the back. You can use a brush on if you want. Now, viewing this from the bottom side here, we can see our adjuster wheel right here. Now, normally when we put our brake rotor on, we're gonna do a little wiggle test and make sure if it has excessive wiggle, we're gonna go ahead and pull it off. We're going to adjust this wheel. And we're gonna go ahead and push it in an upward position to cause the parking brake shoes to expand. We basically want these parking brake shoes just to barely be catching the inside of our brake rotor hat. So you're gonna put it on and wiggle, and you want it to slide on, but still be able to pull it off. Now, if you want to do this from outside the vehicle, right here on the very back here, it has a rubber plug. So we can push this out, and there's the rubber plug there. And normally, you can go ahead and put a screwdriver in here and push it from the backside. Boom, just like that. It's usually a lot quicker to do it this way here to adjust. Now I'm going to go ahead and push this back the other way to compress this. With that rubber plug out, I'm going to go ahead and grab my brake rotor. We're going to do a test fit. All right. And this is where we're going to grab side to side, and we can see it goes on real easy, and there's a lot of play. So you can see as it's flush, it wobbles around quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our screwdriver in that back hole on that backing plate, and we're going to go ahead and adjust this accordingly. We still have some play. Actually, that is pretty perfect right there. You can see we're moving. It has very minimal amount of play, and our brake rotor spins freely. So we're adjusted perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and pop this plug back in. And take your brake caliper bracket, line that up. Just get that bolt run in. Do the same for the bottom. Always start these bolts by hand. You never want to cross thread these here. Okay, run these bolts down. We'll snug them up. On the inboard pad, don't forget to install it with the squeak tab on the bottom side. The notches are going to line up with the sliders that you had installed earlier. Good, line those up and slide them in. Going to do the same on the outer. I'm going to grab our piston here. Now you need to go ahead and compress this piston back in. Now you can use an old pad and a C-clamp and go ahead and press that in. We're simply going to use our compressor tool here and do that slowly. You're basically pushing fluid back up into the line and up into the master. But you do want to make sure that that piston is flush on that unit. Make sure it's flush. Inspect that rubber boot and make sure that rubber boot is in good condition. Slide it over your brake pads. Push your sliders in. And I'm going to go ahead and get this upper bolt started. Once it's started a few threads, you can let it go and then get that lower one installed. You're going to torque your caliper to the bracket. These two little bolts are 27 foot-pounds. Torque down your caliper bracket to knuckle to 100 foot-pounds. Once you've torqued all your hardware, you want to go ahead and hop into the vehicle, pump up the brakes. The purpose of that is that you're going to go ahead and push this piston in, compressing these pads, and you want to go ahead and do so, otherwise you're going to end up with a mushy pedal, and you don't want that to happen. Then you want to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. Go ahead and grab that wheel, line it up, set that in place. We're going to start all of our lug nuts by hand, and once they're all started, we're going to go ahead and snug them down. In our case, we are missing one lug nut Obviously, you probably have all of yours. Install them all. And we're going to snug them down gently in a crisscross pattern. Now we're going to torque down our lug nuts to 103 foot-pounds. You want to do this in a crisscross pattern. In our particular case, we're missing a lug nut here, but you would go ahead and torque that down. Take your center cap, take the leg here, and you want to line that up with the spot right here in the wheel. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.